Hello, all. Welcome to the Arts, Parks, Libraries, and Entertainment Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 3rd, and we'll call the meeting to order at 5:15. I'll do a quick roll call. I am here, so Councilmember Chair. Councilmember Bradford.
Here.
Cap.
Here.
Eastlick. Here. Ewing. Hancock. Lee. Here. Stiles. Taylor. Vo. Welsh.
Yes.
Yeah, so we do have a quorum.
Yes,
They
ma'am.
still can't seem to get your little thing right.
So seeing that no one has signed up for public comment, unless someone presents themselves as though they want to sign up, we will move forward. So today we have 3 items, 3 resolutions. We'll go through and take these individually, and then at the conclusion of our meeting, we'll also, we've got guests from the Arts Commission, so I'll also ask for a separate update, even though you also have an item on the agenda today. So for anything that's not related directly to the resolution, we'll save that for the latter part of our committee today. So item number 1, RS 2024-885 Porterfield Welsh, a resolution approving the criteria of the Community Arts Leaders of Nashville internship program for the Metropolitan Nashville Arts Commission. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Wonderful. With that, I wanted to ask if the Director of Arts, who is here with us today, if you'll identify yourself and if you'd like to share a couple of words about this or turn it over to someone else to speak about it, and they can also introduce themselves.
Good afternoon. I'm no stranger here. I'm Paulette Coleman, Interim Executive Director of the Metro Arts Commission. CAL is our program designed to open the pipeline of traditionally underrepresented groups in the whole area of arts administration, arts management, etc. We do have a staff member here, Claudia Lahan, so she will be able to give more information. We are looking forward to it. It's a very, very valuable program. It involves a partnership with universities and practicing artists and students.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Director Coleman. Claudia, is there anything you would like to share about the program? You don't have to share.
Sure. It's. I will say it is modeled after programs that happen nationally. So I think we're really in line with the equity work that's happening in the arts sector through this program, and it does really good work for students and for arts organizations in the community.
So that's wonderful. Are there any questions from the committee to the director or Ms. Claudia? Okay, hearing that, is there, we're already motion first and second, so all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against or not voting, let us know. So 6 in favor. Moving on to item number 2, that is RS 2024-887 Porterfield Welsh and Allen appropriates $250,000 through a grant contract by and between the Nashville Public Library and Oasis Center to provide college access services for the Power Youth Program. Is there a motion?
Move. Second.
Wonderful. So it's properly before us, and I believe we do have somebody from the public library. Would you like to say a couple of words, or are there any questions from the committee?
No questions.
No questions? Is there anything particular you want us to know about?
No, it's the same as it was last year.
Yeah. We appreciate you coming here to be with us, though. That is very important. So there's no questions from are there any questions from the committee? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against or no votes, please let me know. Hearing none, it's 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. We'll move on to item number 3, RS 2024-888, Porterfield Welsh Bradford Allen appropriates $30,000 through a grant contract by and between the Nashville Public Library and Oasis Center to provide services that help youth grow, thrive, and create positive change in their lives and community. Is there a motion?
Move. Second.
Wonderful. Properly before us, are there any questions from the committee or anything else you'd like to hear from the library to talk about this program?
Yeah, what exactly services and stuff do you provide? And
So this one, it pays for a Mayor's Youth Council position. It's a coordinator for them, and it helps at least 25 high school students be basically matched with a college. This is done by our NASA program, which is our Nashville After School Zone Alliance.
oh, great.
Oh, that's wonderful. And will you identify yourself for the record
I'm Rachel Crone.
with the Nashville Public Library?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Wonderful question, and great to learn a little bit more about that, too. So is there anything else from the committee? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or against? 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. With that, we are going to move into report updates. So I do want to thank everyone for their patience. You should have received an email notification that we canceled the special called meeting that we had scheduled, that was been scheduled for Thursday, December the 5th. I know we had a couple of members that were going to be gone, but I think we still had the majority of folks that could be present. We were kind of waiting to see where we may be from some of the Arts Commission work. And so after we, timely, we've got the director and other support staff here, and folks can all identify themselves. So we'll hear a little bit more of where you are in your timeline, and then the reason for the special call meeting was to appropriate enough time for us to ask questions about either the funding resolution that will be brought before us, and so we'll find another time. I just don't, my assumption is we wouldn't have enough time here to go through a lot of questions. So that would be the purpose for a special call meeting. And I will, with that, I would love, Director Coleman, if you can tell us kind of where we are, where the commission's been, where we are specifically of the funding program, or the funding resolutions we're supposed to have, and then committee members may have more general questions. And I know we've got legal counsel here, Tessa, if you will kind of let us know, and MHRC, of where we are supposed to be on the conciliation agreement, and just where we are on the timelines. I'll let you all decide who speaks first, but and unless there's anything else that we need to hear that committee members would like to hear from, maybe we can just open it up there. And then we have until, we've got about 23 minutes, so I'll keep us on time, so.
Good evening once again. We had expected that on December 2nd we would have filed information before council, and then on the 4th. That did not happen. Where we are is we have not made decisions about funding. December 5th, we have a grants committee meeting, and we also have, followed by that, a commission meeting. We did make some progress. The grants committee did recommend the allocation of funding of our $2,300,000. That $900,000 would go to Thrive, the same as last year, and the remainder would go to operating grants. We also, at the grants committee meeting, approved 2 other items, the allocation. We also approved the panelist criteria. We also approved for recommendation to the commission so they could do something differently, that a formula for funding the operating grants. Those are the 3 decisions that were made. There were no decisions made about Thrive. We will be having a full and robust discussion about that on Thursday, both at the commission. There was also another presentation made by one of the commissioners for an alternative approach to funding, so that will also be considered. That's where we are in terms of funding. I know that's of utmost importance to you. We also know that we will not have a full year. The funding ends June 30th, and so it's basically a 6-month truncated portion of time. I don't know if you have any questions about that or concerns that I might be able to answer. And I don't know if anybody else wanted to comment.
Councilmember Welch.
What did you mention that the $900,000 were for?
Thrive.
That was for Thrive, okay. And then the 1.3 million
No, it's
remaining?
2.365 is for
total?
For operating.
2.365?
The total was 3.2. I'm sorry, I
Okay,
need
you
to
had
go
said
back to my
2.3, so I was doing the math in my head, but it's actually 3.2?
total.
Okay. And then the 2.3 whatever remaining would be for operating?
Correct. And the rationale behind that, there had been a really substantial increase in Thrive last year. 250,000, 178,000 allocated, up to 908,000. And we didn't want to go backwards because of all of these issues around equity and so forth and so on. We are also getting increasing numbers of individual artists who are requesting funding through Thrive. And so it just wouldn't be, in my opinion, a good faith effort that we are committed to moving forward, given all of the discussion and tensions we've had around inequitable and disparate funding.
And what do you imagine that, well, you may not know this now, given where you are in the thought process, the Thrive amounts would be? Because I know we have heard from some Thrive artists and artists in the community who aren't happy with the things that were discussed at the meeting and the decisions that were made.
Yes, and again, those were just recommendations to go to the commission, so I don't know what the final outcome will be. We had last year $20,000, but if you will recall, there was a considerable amount of supplemental funding that the city gave because allocations were made without the actual funding being there, and so that was supplemented. So we arrived at the 20,000. We did a lot of research to see what would be the right number, given the fact that we're having more and more artists ask. And when we looked around the state, there were two programs that funded individual artists, and they were at $5,000. We then looked at the region, the southeastern region, particularly through South Arts, which includes either 9 or 11 southeastern states. They have grants ranging from $2,000 to $7,500, and we had suggested, or the staff is recommending 10. I do not know what the final number will be. But the number has been 20,000. One of the proposals that we put forward that people were not very happy with was that everybody would get some level of funding and the top level would be about 5,000 on down. So that, but at least everybody would get funding. And I can understand the reaction that if I had a $20,000 project, what am I going to do with 5,000? But it depends on the nature of your project, because some projects could be done. So that, I know that was a discontent that we have heard.
Yeah, and I think some of the discontent that we have heard still is that even the recommendation that so much would go for operating budgets for larger legacy type of organizations, that there was the hope that more money would be allocated towards individual artists through Thrive. So I know that's some of the things that we're hearing
Sure.
from council members.
I think with Councilmember Bradford, we will lose quorum, but we're only in discussion anyway. So, Councilmember Welsh, do you have any other questions?
And you, Director Coleman, you said that the meeting is this Thursday, the Grants Committee meeting followed by the Commission meeting. Will
Yes.
these decisions, is your expectation that the decisions will be made at that Commission meeting?
Hopefully so. That is the expectation.
And if that were, if that was approved by the Commission, then when do we expect that money would actually go out the door and start funding the
Oh,
arts?
you know, we have to get approval from council, so we have to go through that whole process. Our expectation was that this would have happened like in December, like I said, the 2nd and the 4th, and the expectation was January. I don't really know and haven't thought through when. I have no idea what's going to happen. We're trying to sort that out.
And then could I just ask legal counsel of either, if the Commission would actually approve this on Thursday, could that be on first reading in front of council in December, the next meeting in December? Or what's the lag before that would start going in front of council for approval?
No, ma'am, by the way, Tess Ortiz Marsh, Metro Legal.
Thank you. And if you'll walk through the whole timeline, too,
Yep.
of where we need to be.
Yeah, so I previously opined to the commission that to file the resolution for the second reading, it would need to be filed this Friday, 12/6. However, Metro Finance and Metro Legal both have backdated deadlines for filing. And so right now, for the 12/17 council meeting, and so right now what we are looking at is having the criteria and all supplementary documents filed with Metro Council before January 6th deadline that's outlined in the conciliation agreement.
And that would be having it for our first and only meeting in January, which I think is the
January 21st.
January 21st.
Yes.
Okay,
Wonderful, so.
okay.
And we would be in line with conciliation agreement with that?
So Metro Legal has recently altered our opinion that the conciliation agreement, which requires finalization and publication of the guidelines by January 6th, that as long as it is filed with the Metro Council by that date, that would be a finalization on part of the Arts Commission and publication via filing with the council.
So we would likely be, and assuming, I guess, what happens with the commission and what is brought to us, you know, the expectation is that we would likely be considering that for the January meeting, because I don't think there's anything that can be done timely enough for the December 17th meeting, because we've already.
Yeah, our deadline to receive finalized legislation for that meeting would be this Friday
Yeah,
at noon.
this Friday at noon, so.
And this is 3 readings or 1 reading?
If it's a resolution,
It's a
This is just a resolution, right? Okay.
And that's
Okay.
what we,
One reading.
what
Public
the
criteria.
council, I think there was a lot of discussion of whether or not it should be an ordinance or resolution. Ultimately, the council voted to make the funding criteria approved by resolution.
And only change by, oh, that's right, ordinance
That's right.
if we change how that's done at some
I
point
think,
down the line.
I think that's correct. That latter part, I'm not sure.
I was gonna say, I believe that it's all by resolution, but the resolution, if there's a change, should outline what the change is. So resolution each year, and then resolution says the change if there is a change.
And so then assuming if we have smooth sailing and everything would pass on the 21st, when do we anticipate that money could actually go out the door?
I'll defer to Dr. Coleman on that. There's obviously, it would be dependent on when the applications are scored, ranked, ordered, and then the final allocation to the individual grants would go back to the commission for approval.
Because this is funding a new application, I mean, a new grant process, right? I mean,
New cycle.
it's not, yeah, new cycle, so people would have to apply for it.
No.
Or is that right or not?
No. We still have applications that were previously submitted.
Yeah,
So we
okay.
were going to use those. The challenge is, we could begin reviewing the technical reviews and scoring now, but we don't have the criteria approved.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, that refreshes my memory.
So just to clarify your question, Councilmember, so the criteria must be approved by Metro Council. However, once the applications are scored, then the commission votes to approve the applications that scored high enough to receive funding, and that does not need to go back before Metro Council. And so once the commission approves the individual applications, that solidifies the process, and then we would go into our contracting process.
So we could reasonably assume that this money wouldn't go out until March to get through that process with the commission and actually scoring and doing that. So with a funding cycle that actually ends at the end of June.
Yes.
So that's a very short, and do projects need to be completed by the end of June with that money at the end of the fiscal year?
All funding, all Metro dollars would need to be expended and reported back to Metro
Expected
Arts.
by then, so just like regular, okay. That's a tight time frame there. Unfortunately.
Do you have any other questions? Does anyone have any questions of legal counsel or Dr. Coleman? We also have Ashley here from Vouch Elders with the Metro Human Relations Commission as well, as they were involved in the conciliation agreement, so.
I do want to note, excuse me, for this committee, that when Metro Legal took a look at what the January 6th deadline meant, we also considered there's a lot of policy on the table on Thursday, and so if for some reason the commission doesn't vote on all the necessary policy to send a resolution, there's time before the holidays to have another commission meeting and to get the rest of the policy questions resolved.
Okay. Yeah, Ashley, if you'll identify yourself, I know I just called you out.
Ashley Batchelder, Metro Human Relations Commission. I just want to say, like, we're in agreement with what Tessa just said, and I want y'all to know that. We had concerns and have concerns about the deadlines, especially with it being a second deadline potentially being missed. And so we've had open communication with legal and with arts, had a long meeting yesterday to kind of make sure that we are on the same page about what needs to be done. And I know that we all want good policy in this, and I know that I don't want a policy passed that's gonna land another complaint back in my inbox, right? And so we came up with, steps that we all feel good about, or I guess I'll just say I know that MHRC feels good about. I don't want to speak for others. So I want y'all to know that we do have some concerns with some of the draft proposals as they stand, so we have made that known, and we are communicating MHRC's perspective on some of those things to the commissioners who will be voting on this policy. And so we look forward to seeing what the Arts Commission advances on Thursday. It'll certainly be our position that if we feel like there's not good policy on the table on Thursday, there is time for another meeting. And so we're really prioritizing good policy over the deadline at this point.
Does anyone have any questions or conversation, or is anything of committee members? Do you all have any? Yeah.
I just have one more, and I don't know whether this is even something that could be done, but is everything that could possibly be done right now to potential applicants being communicated to them so they could perhaps get something together that meets, say, 3/4, and once we actually have the policies in place, that they could adapt how they did things, like, so that people don't just get, like, here's all the new policies and have to start from scratch? Do they have basic kind of information about what we're looking at, what we're hoping to get, and these are things under discussion, so that, again, I'm just trying to think about, so the process could be as fast as possible and people can actually.
One of the outcomes of the meeting yesterday was that we were to send, even though it's been mailed before, send all of the proposals, recommendations, and summarize so you could see what exists, what is changed, and the justification. I left the office. I have to go back because we're not finished with that yet, and hopefully we'll be able to either post it tonight or certainly early in the morning. The information has gone out to the applicants prior to the meeting last week, and then we've been asked to send it again.
Okay, great, that's good. Give the jump.
Thank you for the questions, Councilmember Welsh. Are there any other questions or from committee members? Okay. Is there anything else that, we do have a couple of minutes left. Is there anything else, Dr. Coleman, Legal Counsel Ortiz, Ashley, that you would like to make sure that we know or hear before we close the meeting? Okay. And with that, if you all will just keep me posted, I'll be tuning in. I believe on Thursday's meeting is actually going to be, I think that's going to be broadcast through MMN, right? Mm-hmm. So for those watching here, you can also watch Thursday's Arts Commission meeting and the Grants Committee meeting.
Grants is from 10 to 12, and Arts Commission is from 12 to 2.
So we can tune in. If you can't be there in person, we can actually watch that online, and then typically those are available shortly after the meeting to be live back on YouTube. But making sure folks are aware. And then if you all can keep me posted on the next steps, then I can communicate with the council office to coordinate what would be a special call meeting before we anticipate the resolution be heard. That way we can spend the appropriate amount of time and get questions answered before we go into the council meeting. The goal, I think, is to try not to defer something that will need to be timely for artists, and make sure we have our questions here, or at least that's my very transparent thoughts on that. So with that, is there anything else from any other council members? Anyone else present? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.
All right, we're adjourned.